So hello, good day. In previous topic, we tackled about the psychological perspective in understanding the self. So today, in this video, we will discuss about the Western and Eastern in understanding the self. So I hope that you will watch this at your own risk. Hello, good day everyone. So our topic for today is all about the South in Western and Eastern thought. But before that, let's try to look on the map so that you could see on the countries that are belong in the Eastern and the countries that are belong in the Western. Okay? So Western countries are blue. So it includes Australia, Brazil, USA, Mexico, France, Colombia, and etc. So in Eastern countries are red. So it includes China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand more. So countries that are not Western or Eastern are color gray. So I hope that you get that. Today, we are going to discuss about the differences of Western and Eastern perspective of the self. But before that, let's try to look on the history of the thought. Laman ng Code of Hammurabi is like, tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye, meaning kung sinaksak ka, sasaksakin ka rin. And then also, in this Code of Hammurabi, to find justice, lahat ng mga suspected, sabay-sabay kayo lulubog sa ilog or sa dagat. Ang unang lilitaw or unang aangat dun sa tubig is siya ang may sala. So that is their process of justice. And earliest religious text like the Rig Veda. Rig Veda was the religious text of China. So noticeably, the Eastern thoughts are concerned about the collective life in the community. This is very much in contrast with the individualistic concepts of the West. Okay? Today, we are going to discuss about the differences of Western and Eastern perspective of the self. So, Western philosophy, people are separate and unique from each other. What one person does or experience is completely independent of other people and the world at large. Does not discount the role of environment and society in the formation of the self, but the focus always looking towards the self. So my quotation dito, you compare yourself in order to be better. You create associations and bask in the glory of the group for your self-esteem. You put primacy in developing yourself. So in here, Western philosophy more focus on the concept of I. People are believe in the individualism theory. Okay, so they tend to focus on themselves for self-growth, for self-development. Just like for an example, when you support yourself financially and do not depend on anyone else for your needs. So that's the one example of individualism. So next is when the government allows citizens to be responsible for their own retirement instead of relying on social security. Individualistic cultures are oriented around the self, being independent instead of identifying with the group mentality. And the United States has one of the most individualistic cultures in the world. Americans are more likely to prioritize themselves over a group and they value independence and autonomy. So next is in Eastern perspective. In Eastern philosophy, the self is often treated as an illusion. That is the idea that people are separate entities from each other and the world is not considered a reality in Eastern thought. So in Eastern thought, they are more focused on the concept of we. Okay? So we are more in collective group. Okay? So one of the best example of this is in culture terms refers to a culture that privileges family and community over individuals. For example, children in collectivist societies are likely to take care of elderly parents if they fall ill and will change their own plans in the event of family emergency. So collective cultures such as those of China, Korea, and Japan emphasizes the family and work group goals above individual needs or desires. Collectivism and individualism deeply pervade cultures. Moreover, Eastern people is more about spiritual, while Western philosophies is more about hand-on style. The difference is the I of the West and the we of the East, and as one focuses in finding truth and meaning. Okay, so in here, we have the Eastern cultures and the Western cultures. So in Western cultures, looks the world in dualities wherein you are distinct from the other person. Creator is separate from the object he created, in which self is distinguished and acknowledgement. So in Western cultures, it features of being individualistic concepts. So just like what I said, that Western cultures believe in the I identity or the I concept. It promotes individual goals, individual initiative, and individual achievement just for them, for self development and for self growth. Okay? So, individual rights are seen as being the most important. Rules attempt to ensure self importance and individualism. So, take note of this that the Western cultures are independence is valued. There is much less of drive to help other citizens or communities than in collectivism. Another thing is they rely on being independent on the others is frequently seen as shameful for them. So people are encouraged to do things on their own, to rely on themselves. So people strive for their own success. So that is the features of individualism in the Western cultures. So in Eastern cultures, sees the other person as part of yourself as well as the things you may create, a drama in which everyone is interconnected or intertwined with their specific roles. So in Eastern cultures, they they believe in the features of collectivist concept. So in each person is encouraged to be an active player in society, to do what is best for society as a whole rather than themselves. People of the Eastern believe in the rights of the families, communities, and the collective supersede those of individual. So, like rules promote unity, brotherhood, and selflessness. Working with others and cooperating is the norm. Everyone supports each other naman. As a community or as a family or nation or more than as individual. So that is the difference between the Western and the Eastern. Let's move on to the concept of self in the Eastern philosophy. So we have Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and Confucianism. In this lesson, we will look at religious beliefs and political philosophies that greatly influence the mindset of each nation or culture. We will highlight the Eastern thought in this lesson. So, first is Buddhism. What is Buddhism? With over 500 million followers and being one of the oldest religions, is still a practice today. Buddhism has countless definitions, but there is a core set of values that can help stitch together a basic definition of what is Buddhism stands for. So essentially, Buddhism is a spiritual tradition that began over 2,000 years ago, when the man who would become Buddha took his seat beneath the shade of the Bodhi tree in ancient Nepal to meditate. Okay, so the man who sits beneath that shade is si Siddhartha Gautama Buddha. It was clear that this man found enlightenment, and here what Buddhism was born. Okay, so Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, he developed the doctrine called anatta, often defined as no self or unchanging, or the principle that nothing is permanent, that no one is an independent entity as we are all part of collective whole. Okay, so the reality of dukkha or suffering and the anicca of impermanence is the truth about the existence. So nirvana is the term used to describe the end of suffering. So the ultimate goal of Buddhism is that it is a state of complete bliss, liberation from the limitations and desires of physical world, and at the end of the cycle of rebirth and the suffering. Okay, so Buddhism believe in karma, where it is a key element of Buddhist lifestyle. It is the belief that everything that you do has a way of good or bad. And when your life ends, your overall karma will be judged. Okay, so if your karma is positive, you will be reborn into a favorable new life. So if your karma is negative, you will experience a worse life than your previous one. Okay, so to practice Buddhism, you must practice the most important daily activity to increase your mindfulness and openness as human. So that is the meditation. It is the Buddhist lifestyle. So in meditation allows one to be at one with their inner peace and suffering, and it's the first step towards nirvana. So like what I've said, nirvana is the end of suffering. So here is a quick guide to truly begin meditating. First is find place where you can be alone. Okay? So huwag ka na makikisaw-saw pa sa iba. Joke. So find place where you can be alone. Find a quiet area where no one will bother you. Okay? So sit comfortably. While cross-leg is most common position associated with meditation. Okay? So focus on your eyes, not in his eyes. Joke lang. So be mindful of your breathing. Okay? Focus on every breath. Concentrate the power of focus on the air coming in and out of your body. Okay? So lastly is let your thoughts flow. Don't try to think about one certain thing. Do your best to blank out your mind and let it wander freely without any direction for at least 15 minutes. Okay? So then, after that, you would be relieved, okay? Magiging magaan ang pakiramdam mo, magiging stress-free ka kasi you meditate, okay? So, I hope that you will do the same. Okay, so then Buddhism seen self as an illusion, okay? So, born out of ignorance of trying to hold and control things or human-centered needs. Therefore, our guests to forget about the self, forget the cravings of the self, break the attachments you have with the world, and to renounce the self, which is the cause of all suffering uh, in doing so. Okay, so attain the state of nirvana. Okay, so it is the final goal of Buddhism to end the suffering. So that is their final goal, is to end the nirvana. So next is Hinduism. So what is Hinduism? So Hinduism is the world's oldest religion, according to the many scholars, with the roots and custom dating back more than 4,000 years. Today, with about 900 million followers, Hinduism is the third largest religion behind the Christianity and Islam. Hinduism embraces many religious ideas. For this reason, it is sometimes referred to as a way of life or a family of religions, as opposed to single organized religion. So most forms of Hinduism are Hinduistic, which means they worship a single deity known as Brahman, but still recognize other gods and goddesses. Followers believe that there are multiple paths to reaching their God. So in here in Hinduism, they have a lot of anitos and atitas. They believe in God and goddesses. Okay, so Hindus believe in the doctrines of samsara. Okay, so samsara means it's the continuous cycle of life and death and reincarnation. So they believe in reincarnation, and they also believe in karma like Buddhism. It is the universal law of cause and effect. So one fundamental principle of the religion of the South is the idea that people's sanctions and thoughts directly determine their current life and future lives. Okay, so Hindus strive to achieve Dharma, okay, which is the code of living that emphasizes the good conduct and morality. So Hindus also revere all living creatures, consider the cow as a sacred animal. So the two important concepts of Hinduism is we have Brahman and Atman. Brahman is essentially the sacred, the God spirit or the universe. In contrast, the Atman is the human soul or the self. Next is Confucianism. So the identity and self-concept of an individual is interwoven with the identity and the status of his or her community or culture, sharing its pride as well as failure. Self-cultivation is the ultimate purpose of life. So, what was the Confucian thought? So, the worldly concern of Confucianism rests upon the belief that human beings are fundamentally good and teachable, improvable, and even perfectible through personal and communal endeavor. Okay, so especially self cultivation and self creation. So, Confucian thought focuses on the cultivation of virtue in a morally organized world. So Taoism is the self is not just an extension of the family or the community. It is a part of the universe, one of the forms and the manifestations of the Tao. However, Taoism rejects having one definition of what the Tao is, and one can only state clues of what it is as they adopt a free flowing, relative, unitary, as well as paradoxical view of almost everything. So Taoism rejects the hierarchy and its strictness brought by Confucianism and would prefer a simple lifestyle and its teaching as its aim to describe how to attain that life. Okay, so the self is not just an extension of the family or the community, it is a part of the universe. Okay, so one of the forms and manifestation of the Tao is the ideal self, is the selflessness, but this is not a forgetting about the self, it is the living a balanced life with society and nature. Okay, being open and accepting to change, forgetting about the prejudices and being egocentric or self-centered ideas, and thinking about the equality as well as complementarity among humans as well as other beings. Okay, so in this way you will be able to act spontaneously because you will not be restricted by some legalistic standards, but because you are in a harmony with everything. Okay? Thank you for watching, and I hope that you understand. And see you on the next video presentation. Okay? Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope that you learned something about this video. And I already uploaded your activity in your elements, so accomplish it as soon as possible. Thank you. Have a good day.